Hey, what's up, everybody? If you appreciate the format and you appreciate what we're doing here, then make sure you contribute to the Cash App, make sure you contribute to the PayPal, make sure you donate to the Super Chat. It's only you and your contributions that keep this thing going. Thanks. Thank you, everybody, for
Hey, what's up, y'all? This is Dennis Sperlin, also known as Uncle D, man, and I am back. Wow. If you guys caught those last two videos, that was the first time I've seen them. The album that you guys are listening to is called Don Juan Carlos El Patron. And for those of you who study my music, it's basically me deciding that my trips or SYSBM or traveling overseas is not a dream. It is actually real. For many years I lied to myself and I told myself, hey boys, come in here for a minute. Come say hi to everybody. Watch out for it. Look, these are my two boys, Dennis and Roman.
Hello.
Say hello to everybody. These guys are about to go hit some weight. Oh well, that was a problem. But everyone, don't worry about it. The boys are about to go lift some weights, but I wanted to. You want to show? You showing your braces? People don't want to see your braces. They don't want to see all that. Okay, that's all I'm saying. But either way, I was just about to talk to the guys here. Say hello to all the guys out here who call Daddy. I tell my sons that a lot of the things that I tell them now and have been telling them for the past 5 years, 10 years, 13 years for him, 11 years for him, was things that a lot of you black men have never heard. I basically preach a philosophy that the world belongs to you, that this whole complete and entire world is yours to explore and conquer. And I'm so very proud of my boys. That's the attitude that they've taken. And so guess what we're going to talk about?
What?
We're going to talk about King Shaka Zulu. We're going to talk about King Mansa Musa. And we're going to talk about King Abubakari II. You know who Mansa Musa is?
Yes, he was the richest man.
He was the richest man that ever lived. He was worth an estimated $400 billion. They called him the Lord of Mines. Okay, he was over in West Africa and Ghana and Nigeria, the kingdom of Mali, and basically it was so rich in gold and salt that he basically, when he traveled to Mecca on his Hajj, like Malcolm X did. Remember Malcolm X went to go to Arabia for his Hajj. He basically upset the entire economic system because he was giving out gold the whole way. So a lot of these black men don't know that. But you know what? The most important thing is to us about Mansa Musa.
What?
Is that he saw there was no limit. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
And Abubakari, his predecessor, the man that came before him, said, you know what? I believe there's land over there on the other side of the Atlantic Ocean. And so what did he do? He said, hook me up 200 ships and y'all go over there and come back and don't come back till you find it. Only one ship came back. But guess what?
What?
He said, okay, well, we're going to now hook me up. I think he said, hook me up 2,000 ships. And he filled it up with land, with people and gold and food and water and everything. And he took off and he was never seen on the island. He was never seen on the African continent again. But they do have evidence that he landed in Brazil. So that's what I'm going to talk to these brothers about.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Because a lot of them haven't heard. You guys understand the world is yours, right?
Yeah.
You've been different. Where have you been, Roman?
Dominican Republic, Miami, Belize, Colombia.
Jamaica.
Oh yeah, Jamaica.
Where else you been?
I don't really.
You don't remember? You've been a lot of different places. You don't remember. But Puerto Rico's a territory. But the bottom line is they already feel like the world is there. So you guys go ahead and lift weights. And I'm going to continue forward. Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate you guys. But the music that I put out there, those two videos, the two videos that I just, the two videos that I put out, I just saw them myself. That was the first time I saw them. My editor sent them to him. I usually will tell him, hey, look, man, get a couple of songs from my catalog. And, you know, and you guys can, all my music is available everywhere for the most part, under D Demand. But the bottom line, I'm inspired by that. So I know you guys are inspired by that. But either way, without further ado, I want to give a shout out to everybody in the chat room. Shout out to my man, Malika. Thank you so much, man. Peace and love, family. Shout out to Volcanus. Thank you, Uncle D. He says Uncle D is a legend. Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate the contributions. Let's see if we got anything coming in on the Cash App. Nothing on the Cash App right now, but you guys, please make sure you contribute to the Super Chat, the Cash App, and the PayPal. But without further ado, I kind of gave you a precursor as to what's going on. Here's the thing. The question that we want to ask ourselves, brothers, is what can we learn from our ancient ancestors? Not merely knowing about them, but what can we actually extract? Now, here's the thing. There was an African emperor who ruled Mali in the 14th century, and he discovered America nearly 200 years before Christopher Columbus, according to a book to be launched a book that was launched. Abubakari II ruled what was arguably the richest, largest empire on earth, covering nearly all of West Africa. Our aim is to bring out hidden parts of history. Now, so let's read a little bit more about this. And I'm going to go. The crazy thing is, this is right here for us to read. When I first heard about Abubakari, it was from a VHS tape. Okay, that a gentleman named African national preacher put out, and so I was like, man, who is this guy? Nobody ever teaches this sort of history, but here it is. Abubakari may have been the 9th Mansa of Mali, okay, empire. He succeeded his nephew, Mansa Muhammad Ibn Goa, and preceded Mansa Musa. So we always hear about Mansa Musa, but what about the amazing emperor that came before him, Abubakari II? He abdicated the throne in order to explore the limits of the ocean. Basically, what he said was, look, y'all take 200 ships. I know there's land over there. Take 200 ships and go find the land and don't come back till you find land. So we went over there. He sent some guys and only one ship came back. Now they filled them up with provisions and food and all sorts of stuff like that. But the problem was, once the ship came back, so we came across a part of the ocean which seemed like it was, you know, a river, a churning river. And so all the ships disappeared, and I just turned around and came back. And he said, okay, I want y'all to hook me up. It was either hook me up 400 ships or hook me up 2,000 ships. And then we're going to go back. And he was never seen from again. But here's the thing. Let's learn a little bit about it. He was the last of a mini dynasty within the Keita clan of emperors descending from the Kola Khan. After his abdication in 1311, the Fegele mini dynasty would control the empire. All right. Now, when they say he abdicated, that means he gave it up to Mansa Musa. And he said, I'm going sailing. Virtually all that is known about Abubakari II is from an account by Chiba al-Amuri. Amuri visited Cairo after Mansa Musa stopped there during his historic Hajj to Mecca and recorded a conversation between Musa and his host, Abu Hassan Ali ibn Amir Habib. According to Mansa, this is his predecessor, like Mansa Musa, right? So he said Abubakari became convinced that he could find the edge of the Atlantic Ocean and outfitted 2 expeditions to find it. Following Abubakari's failure to return from the second of those expeditions, Mansa acceded to the throne. Basically, they waited, and he never came back after the second trip that he financed. Let's read what they said. Mansa Musa, this is Mansa Musa, the richest man in the world who's ever lived, said this: the ruler who preceded me did not believe that it was impossible So in other words, he believed it was possible to reach the end of the ocean that encircles the earth, meaning the Atlantic. He wanted to reach that end and ostensibly persisted in the design. So he equipped 200 boats full of men, like many others full of, many others full of gold, water, victuals sufficient enough, in other words, food enough for several years. He ordered that the chief admiral not to return until they had reached the extremity of the ocean, or if they had exhausted the provisions and water. They set out. Their absence extended over a long period, and at last only one boat returned. On questioning, the captain said, "Prince, we have navigated for a long time until we saw in the midst of the ocean as if a big river was floating violently. My boat was the last one. Others were headed ahead of me. As soon as any of them reached the place, it drowned in the whirlpool and never came out. I sailed backwards to escape this current, but the Sultan would not believe him. He ordered the 2,000 boats equipped for him and for his men, and 1,000 more for water and victuals." Okay, in 2000, he ordered 2,000 boats to be equipped for him and for his men, and 1,000 more just for food and water. So basically, that's 3,000 boats. Then he conferred on me the regency during his absences. So in other words, he said, "Look, man, I'm about to go over here and sail across the world. You in charge until I get back." So then he conferred on me the regency during his absence and departed with this man on the ocean trip, never to return nor to give sign of life. So he just bounced. Now, Ivan van Sertima and Malian researcher Mr. Diawara proposed that Abu Bukhari II traveled to the New World. Ivan van Sertima cites the abstract of Columbus's log, right? Christopher Columbus's log made by Bartholomew de Casas, according to which the purpose of Columbus's third voyage was to test both the claims of King John II of Portugal that canoes had been found which set out from the coast of Guyana, West Africa, and sailed west with merchandise, as well as claims of native inhabitants of the Caribbean, Hispaniola, which is the Dominican Republic, and Colombia. Those two countries are on the island, or maintain the island of, or they are on the island of Hispaniola. That from the south and the southwest had come black people. In other words, these people told Christopher Columbus, black people have come here already. They from the south and the southeast, and had come black people who had spears made of metal called guanin, from which it was found that of 32 parts, 18 were gold, 16 were silver, and 8 copper. However, many archaeologists and anthropologists, and they don't want to believe that, because they want to stick with the theories that they had. Okay, but this is what one of the scribes said. Bartholomew de Casas said that, you know, this is what the natives were describing. So what do we learn so far? What we learned is that our brother, first of all, he saw the world as his. He didn't ask for permission. You didn't come back with what the answer I wanted. Hook me up 3,000 ships. Now let's read a little bit more. The legend how Mansa Abubakari II of Mali gave up his throne to explore the Atlantic Ocean. This was a black man, okay, from the west coast of Africa, where you brothers are from. So when they talk that stuff about, oh, we're descended from slaves, no, we are descended from Mansa Abubakari II. This is one of our great emperors. These are the people we're delivered from. Look at the mentality that you have to say, y'all don't come back and talk until y'all find what I'm looking for. Matter of fact, you couldn't do it. I'm gonna do it myself. Give me 2,000 ships. Give me 3,000 ships. Gold, water, food, women, and one of them just filled up with supplies. And I'm gonna give you my throne, Mansa Musa. You in charge. I'm out. This is what he did. He was a 14th century ruler, which means he ruled between 1300 and 1399. That's the 14th century. If they say the 15th century, that's between 1400 and 1499. Okay, so this is your history. Now, brothers, we're asking, what are we learning from these black men who we are descended from? That's the question, not just the fact that they existed. We see boldness. Okay, that's what we see. We see boldness. We see courageousness. We see no limitations. That's what we see here. All right, that's the first thing we see. All right, do you think that they care what the women had to say? Women, get on the boat. They're not run by women. This was not a simp, fellas. This was not a man waiting around for a woman to make him. You know how brothers always say, yeah, we need to get, we're going to be a power couple. Ain't no power couple. This is Mansa Abubakari II. This is not a power couple. He is the man. And see, these are the type of men you need to pattern yourself after. This period of time, i.e. the 14th century, was a time when the Mali Empire had reached its pinnacle. Okay? Let's check this out. The wealth of the Mali Empire can be seen in the famous pilgrimage of Mansa Musa Abubakari's immediate successor. In other words, that was the region that Abubakari gave it up to. I give it up to another black man. I'm going over here to sail across the ocean. All right. According to Arab historians, this ruler spent so much gold during his pilgrimage that the rate of gold dinar fell by. In other words, Mansa Musa was a Muslim, and he was traveling to Mecca to do his Hajj. And so on his way there, he was basically just giving away gold. The man was worth $400 billion in 1311, 1312. This is what we're talking about. This was an extreme amount of wealth. In the meantime, places like Europe, I mean, they were basically, it was a horrible place to be. It was savagery going on. They were living in squalor, and Africa is flourishing. And these are Muslims right here. This is why those brothers that in the Nation of Islam and those other black Muslims say our people were Muslims before they came here, because they were. It's documented. Many of them were. Many of them are today. According to the Arab historians, this ruler spent. I read that part. The empire's peace and stability may have allowed a rather bizarre episode in Abubakari's reign to take place. According to Syrian historian Al-Amari, who met Musa in Cairo, the Malian ruler's predecessor abdicated his throne so he could explore the Atlantic Ocean. So basically what he's saying is the country was so stable and so rich. He's like, look, I'm the ruler, I know, but I'm about to go over here. You in charge till I get back. And he never came back. That's how Mansa Musa became the Lord. That's how he became the emperor. Like, look, bro, you've been good. Handle this. I'll be back. If I don't come back, you in charge. You know what to do. You the boss. And so what ended up happening, and we'll talk about Mansa Musa tomorrow. But the trust that these black men had amongst each other, that's another thing that we need to talk about. Now let's read about this. Very little is known about the life of Bob Bukhari. The only known written account about him at present may be found in the work of Al-Amari. It may be interesting to note that this account of Abu Bukhari comes from the mouth of the successor Musa and seems to be an explanation of how the later came to power. One English translation of Al-Amari's conversation with Musa. So basically, the reason why we don't know as much about Abu Bukhari is because at the time, Africans kept history through orators. Okay, so orators, and this is a representation of Mansa Musa. Okay, orators were angry. The griots were angry at Abu Bukhari because of the way he gave it up. He's like, you the leader, and you just gonna leave? You just leaving? You just leaving, bro? And so they really just wrote him out of oral history. They really just wrote him out. That's basically what they did to him. It was shameful to them the way he abdicated his throne. He didn't die in war. He didn't have an heir who took over. He didn't die of old age. No, he just said, look, I'm about to hop on these 3,000 ships, and I'm about to go over here and find go find the end of the Atlantic Ocean. That's basically what he did. And the griots didn't like that. So they basically lost. They in other words, they just refused to tell the history of Abu Bukhari II. Okay, so so that's what happened to him. That's why little is known. This rendition of what we do know comes from Mansa Musa, the richest man in the world, who also we'll talk about tonight, was referred to as the Lord of Mines. Okay, but Abu Bukhari, let's continue reading. You'll see what happened to him. Whilst the aim of the story was to explain the way in which Mansa gained the throne of the Mali Empire, heralding the beginning of a new lineage of rulers, there seems to be much more focus in modern times on the actions of Abu Bukhari. Of course, like what happened to the dude that hopped on 3,000 ships? That's the story right there in 311. Like, where is that guy? In the words of Mansa and al-Umari are to be taken reliable. This tale is not found in any other African or Arabic source, with the exception of perhaps oral tradition. Okay, then the Mansa's abdication and subsequent voyage to the Atlantic Ocean may be considered as events that actually took place. In other words, this is the only other place they hear about it, oral tradition. This is a rendition of Abubakari. This would be him right there, sitting on one of his 3,000 ships. You know what I'm saying? Filled up with Africans headed to the New World. He filled it up with people that look like us, black people. West. This is what this looked like. Yeah, and see, you got to understand something. They've been navigating the Serengeti. I mean the Sahara. They through the stars. They've been navigating rivers and different things. They've been sailing and fishing. They've been doing this for thousands of years. So of course they would know the ocean is no different. They just need bigger ships. Yet let's read this. The voyage to the New World. Yet there are those who are not content to stop where Al-Amari's narrative ends and have extrapolated the tale. Instead of merely sailing on the Atlantic Ocean, Abubakari is speculated to have sailed across the body of water and reached the Americas. Evidence that seemed to support such claims have been presented. Okay, so let's take a look. Places. This is a rendition of him arriving. Abubakari arriving. Places names on old maps, for example, are said to show that Abubakari and his men had landed in the New World. When they say the New World, they're talking about America. They're talking about North America, the Caribbean, Central America, South America. The Malayans. Let's read this. The Malayans are claimed to have named certain places after themselves, such as Mandinga Port, Mandinga Bay, and Sierra de Mali. The exact locations of such sites, however, are unclear, as one source states that these places are in Haiti, whilst other puts them in the region of Mexico. And this is a region of our brother Abubakari, Mansa Abubakari, meeting with Native Americans. This is just a photo. You know, this is of course would be a North American sort of headdress. This is not somewhere else. This is that. Another common argument is that the metal goods from West Africa were discovered by Columbus when he arrived in Americas. One source claims that Columbus himself reported that he had obtained metal goods of West African origin from Native Americans. Remember, he got there in 1492. These Africans were still there. You see what I mean? They had interbreed and mixed. This is what they're basically saying. And so some of the stuff that they had was still around. Another source asserts that the chemical analysis of gold tips found by Columbus on spears in America showed the gold probably came from West Africa. That's just like finding bones right there. You find gold and they have certain properties that you can only get from that are common to gold in West Africa. This is what they're saying. They're finding physical evidence, but your normal history professor is not going to bring this up. Many other examples, because it disturbs everything that they've learned, so they can't do it. And it gives Africans too much credit. Now, before we go any further, this is what I want you black men to understand. This is what I want you brothers to understand. These Europeans who are telling you when we were growing up that Africa was a bunch of savagery and people hanging from trees and all that, they had been traveling along the west coast of Africa. They knew about the riches of Africa. They knew about these kingdoms. They learned, they'd seen them with their own eyes. But then they'll steal you from here. They'll steal you from the west coast of Africa. Take you over to Mississippi somewhere and tell you descended from monkeys, where they themselves learned sailing and all these crafts from Africa. They got their riches from Africa. But they'll lie to you and tell you that. And you foolish enough to believe it. You foolish enough to run away from your history. This is our common history. This is what our people created. This is what our lineage, this is what our DNA did. And when left alone, we'll do it again. And that's why they won't leave us alone. Many other examples of the purported Malian presence in the New World have also been given, including skeletons, Okay, so they find skeletons of Africans, inscriptions, a building that looked like a mosque, linguistic analysis. In other words, the language, some of these words that our brothers were using, the natives kept and they blended in. And so some of the words are kept. The carvings said to depict Malayans and Mali Malayans. Such evidence, however, is not entirely convincing. Of course, they're not going to be convinced by it. But you can find a Viking relic up in northern Canada, some goddamn where, oh yeah, the Vikings were here well before Columbus. Of course, that's all the evidence they need to affirmatively make Vikings having discovered that part of the America no problem. That's enough. That's all they need. Okay, that's all they need. But for Africans, they basically want somebody to go back in history, take a picture and post it on YouTube, or take a video and post it on YouTube. The evidence is there, family. The evidence is there. Such evidence, however, is not entirely convincing, right? This is them. As sources that list them do not provide additional information or references to further support their claims. For example, rather than merely stating the place's name by the Malayan were found on old maps, it may be persuasive if credible examples of these old maps were given. That's not that difficult. All right, that's not that difficult to find. So this is just a picture of a mosque in Mali. Let me see. Given the present evidence of Abu Bukhari's voyage to America is unconvincing at best. This is their opinion, right? It seemed likely that the Malayan ruler had reached the New World during his expedition into the Atlantic Ocean. Nevertheless, the tale of they really see this is how they ended. They really don't want to say this rich man, this rich African made it to America. They really they trying their best. They fight every day. So here's another one. So we talked about this too. He left with 2,000 boats. His ambition was to. This is another important thing I want you guys to listen to. Bukhari's ambition was to explore whether the Atlantic Ocean, like the great River Niger that swept through Mali, had another bank. All right. Basically, he's looking at this Atlantic Ocean like it's just a big river. You see what I'm saying? Which in effect it is. It's got one side, it's got another side. He just wanted to sail to the other side. You see what I'm saying? To see what's happening. If the river got another side, we know the ocean got another side. So that was his rationale. In 1311, he handed his throne over to his brother, Kankou Moussa, and set off on an expedition to the unknown. His predecessor and uncle, this is the man that came before him, Soundjata Keita, had already found the Mali Empire and conquered a good stretch of the Sahara Desert and the greatest force along the West African coast. In other words, what he's saying is, look, this is my uncle did this already. My uncle is the one that conquered this. I want to do my own conquering. This is the type of men we're dealing with. This is what I want you guys to understand. We're looking at bravery. We're looking at a man who takes life by the reins. He's not waiting around for permission. He don't really care about what other people think. Who does this sound like? This sounds like me talking to you brothers. That's what this sounds like. Here's another thing. The book also focuses on a research project being carried out in Mali, tracing Abu Bukhari's journeys. We are not saying that Abu Bukhari II was the first ever to cross the ocean, says Timioko Kanu, who has the project. There's evidence that the Vikings were in America long before him as well. So they'll quickly say that the Vikings and the Chinese made it to the U.S., right? There's evidence, but they still hesitant about saying this African made it over here. When the people in the inhabitants of the Dominican Republic are saying they are, what is now Dominican Republic or Haiti, which was at that time, which now is technically called Hispaniola, they said we still got evidence that they was here. The researchers claim that Abu Bukhari's fleet of pirogues loaded with men. This is how he went. He went with men and women, livestock, food, drinking water, and departed from what is the west coast of Africa, present-day Gambia. They are gathering. Here's the important part, fellas. They are gathering evidence that in 1312, Abu Bukhari landed on the coast of Brazil in a place known as Recife. Okay, this is where they say this black man landed. A place called Recife. Let's look this up real quick. I want to make sure that we know we're gonna track it. We're gonna see how that works. Those of you all who know about the trade winds, if you hop on those trade winds, they'll take you straight from Africa, straight over to Brazil. All right, that's why oftentimes, let's look at it on the map. All right, I want you guys to see this. This is where they say our brother landed, right up in here. All right, let me see if I can get a picture with that on there. We need to see that. Okay, this is South America for you brothers who, and this is the country where they said, man, I wish I could get this. It's a little small. I'm gonna click over here in the corner. All right. This is now Rio. You guys who hang out, Rio is down here somewhere. This is where they say our brother landed. He came from Africa and he landed right here. Let me see if I can get a world map to pull up. And if you guys appreciate this, cool. Go ahead and contribute to the super chat. I think this is important. I think it's very important. I think you brothers need to, I think we all need to learn from our ancestors, okay? I think our ancestors knew a lot more than we. We can learn from their life. We can learn from what they did. You understand what I'm saying? So basically, let me see if I can get this a better map here, a bigger map. All right, so he basically went from Gambia. Let me see if I can find the Gambia. Boy, I tell you, computer is out here giving me the blues right now. Let me see if I can find a better map for you brothers to take a look at. Oh, look. It's coming on. Oh, yeah. He said, Chocho said, I hit your cash up. Let me see if my man Chocho hit the cash up. All right. Appreciate that, man. Thank you so much. Hit the cash app up. Hit the PayPal. Let me, oh, you know what? That's my fault. Let me put the cash app and the PayPal in the chat room. I've gotten so carried away with this conversation because I really believe it's important. So you brothers need to be inspired. Remember now that you know that our brother Abu Bukhari II, you ain't the first black man that went to the Dominican Republic and then Brazil, right? Think about it like that. Say, I'm following. Why you down here? I'm down here doing what our brother Abu Bukhari II did. I'm going from the Dominican Republic to Brazil. That's all I'm doing, brother. Let me follow. This is my heritage. You know what I'm saying? I'm doing what Africans have been doing for damn near 1,000 years. Yeah, talk to them like that, man. So anyway, and by the way, Africa, Brazil has the most Africans on the planet outside of Africa. You know, let's see if this is going to be a better map, I believe. So let's see if I get what's that? Pants. Come on, man, with the pants. You don't need pants. Get out of there. Okay. Well, this is the best we can do right here. So basically, fellas, this brother went from here. All right, and I'm trying to. Where's the Gambia at? He went from about right up in here, okay, and landed here. Okay. Now this is what Christopher Columbus, he went from Spain, he sailed down the coast, and he went across to here. Okay. That's a much farther distance than going from here and dipping over to here. Okay. That's exactly what our brother did. So it's not inconceivable that it can happen. And the fact that they have evidence to show that he did do it, validates what was happening. Okay. So let's continue reading. Let me see here. They are gathering, and we saw that they are gathering evidence that in 1312, Abu Bukhari II landed on the coast of Brazil in a place called Recife. Its other name is Pernambuco, which we believe is an aberration of the Mandi name for the rich gold fields that accounted for much of the wealth of the Mali Empire, Boro Bambuk. Another researcher, Khadidjah Dire, says they have found written accounts okay, of Abu Bukhari's expedition in Egypt in a book written by Al-Omari in the 14th century. Our aim is to bring out hidden parts of history, she says. Black traders. Mr. Kononti says they are also examining reports by Columbus, all right, Christopher Columbus himself, who said he found black traders. Okay, and the man already knew what black people look like, not dark skinned, black traders. He had Africans on the boat with him. Okay, so he knew what Africans looked like. They weren't just dark skinned for being in the Caribbean sun. Columbus himself, who said he found black traders already present in America when he got there. And they telling you we would not, the whole world belongs to you, brothers. That's what I'm telling you. Okay, that's what I'm telling you. They also cite chemical analysis of the gold tips that Columbus found on spears in the Americas, which show that the gold probably came from West Africa. But the scholars say the best sources of information on Abu Bukhari II are griots, the original historians in Africa. Mr. Diawara says the paradox of Abu Bukhari is that the griots themselves impose a seal of silence on the story. The griots found his abdication a shameful act not worthy of praise. Mr. Diawara said, in other words, the griots were mad that he abdicated his throne and decided to take his butt over to America instead of being here and being our emperor. That they were mad at him, so they said, well, you know what, we just not gonna talk about him. And since there was no written history, if the griots didn't talk about him, nobody knew about him. That's basically what happened. Okay, the griots found his abdication and him giving up his throne to Mansa Musa. That was shameful in their mind. So we just gonna forget about him, and he'll be written out of history because we don't want to talk about that shameful foolishness. But that's why we know little about Abu Bukhari. For that reason, they have refused to sing praise or talk of this great African man, and he was a great West African man. Mr. Diawara says the griots in West Africa, such as Sadio Diabete, are slowly starting to divulge secrets of Abu Bukhari II. Hard-nosed historians. Okay, here, this translation, white people. But the research team says an even bigger challenge is to convince hard-nosed historians, in other words, white folks who are, bound by, who are mired in racism, white supremacy, and just can't just imagine admitting that this big, rich black man sailed to America and got to Brazil and the Dominican Republic before Columbus. They would have to change all their little history books and go explain that to all the people they've been lying to for the past 500 years. Okay, that's who they talk about. Even though the evidence is there, they still don't want to admit it. Mr. Diawara believes that Abu Bukhari's saga has an important moral lesson for leaders of small nations, states in West Africa, which were once part of the vast Mandi-speaking empire. Look at what's going on the remnants of the empire of the Ivory Coast, Sierra Leone, Liberia, Guyana. Politicians are bathing their countries in blood, setting them on fire so that they can cling to power. They should take an example of Abu Bukhari. He was far more powerful than any of them, and he was willing to give it up, all in the name of science. And discovered, I think it was more important than just science. That should be a lesson to every African today. Okay, so there's so much to unpack here, fellas. And the whole point of me doing this, brother, is what can you get out of this? What can you as a black man do? What is it, fellas? What is it that this great man, Abu Bukhari II, let's analyze him together. I want you guys. Let's analyze our brother together. First thing we're going to do is we're going to open the chat room because I want everybody to come in. Anybody who wants to come in, come on in. We want to talk about our brother. Our ancestors are with us. If you're talking about your ancestors, they're with you. They will give you the guidance you need. It will bubble up through your gene pool, and they will give you the guidance that you need. But the thing you can't be is afraid. Okay? You have to know who you are. Everybody will tell you descended from kings and queens, but nobody will tell you who or who their personalities were. we can figure this man out on our own, and we can move forward with that. Join the conversation if you want to come in. I want to talk about who this man was. John Guillory said, Dennis, you always bring it stories that are needed to be heard. Amen. Charles Clark, teach, brother, teach. W. Alfonso, you know, I'm going to support and watch and replay later. No problem, man. I appreciate you, brother. Let me see what else. Volcanus, already got him. Malika, shout out you got. Now, look, I could be in here with my sons. They're in the backyard lifting weights, but I know this is important work that I'm doing. And I want you guys to get this word, okay? Because I'm willing to make this sacrifice. And so you, at least you guys can do for me, is come on in. Let's have this conversation together. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about these attributes. All right. This is what I want to do. I want to talk about our brother. All right. I want to talk about our brother, Abu Bukhari II, and what he did. Afro Patriarch. How are you doing today, brother?
I'm doing good, man.
Great.
This was great conversations for you to start, man, because I'm really into ancient African lore.
This ain't that
and
ancient, though. Bro, this is not that ancient. This is only 600 years ago. This is, I mean, think about it. If Columbus got to the United States in 1492, and our brother sailed from the Gambia, made it over to Brazil in 1312, okay, that was about 170 some odd years before, 180 years before Columbus got here. There were still Africans in Colombia. I mean, there were still Africans in Brazil. You know, they were still there. It was still a thriving place. He went over there with women and children. He went over there with women, men and women, and gold and riches. You see what I'm saying? That's how he went over there. He went over there to stay. But thing is, man, what does it say about a man who's willing to abdicate the throne and the throne of the richest man in the world and say, I'm going over here because this is my calling. This is my purpose. What does that tell you about him?
it says that he has a lot of faith and a vision. And he's willing to risk it all. He's willing to risk it all for this vision.
All right, so here's what I want you to think about, and I want to think about it in a very analytical form. So his craft or his job was basically emperor of Mali, right? But his purpose was to take 3,000 ships over to from West Africa to the New World, or to the other, as he called it, the other bank of the Atlantic, or what he saw as a big river. You understand what I'm saying? So do you see the difference between, he had a great, magnificent, amazing job as the emperor of the richest land in the world, right? And then what did he do? He took that job and said, no, my purpose is more important. And what am I going to do? I'm gonna go over here. I'm gonna take these 3,000 ships and I'm gonna go over here and fulfill my purpose. You see what I'm saying, man?
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying. And it's just, you know what? I think for me is that I'm the one who's limited. I'm the one who's limited in that vision, because it's like, to be emperor, right? And to be a ruler and to abdicate that for something greater. And no one else understands. Even if I was part of his court, I would be looking at him kind of crazy. Like, are you serious? Because I couldn't fathom his vision. I couldn't fathom what he was seeing. It could have been something that he knew, or that he studied and discovered, or, you know, and I could not. I would be sitting there flabbergasted.
Yeah. What do you think about the fact that they found these gold tips that were made in Africa? Now, here's the crazy thing. The reason we know about this is because Mansa Musa, his predecessor, the person that came after him, the regent, Mansa Musa was the regent. He said, look, you in charge till I come back. Mansa Musa was a Muslim. All of these guys were Muslims. The only way we even know about it is because Mansa Musa took his Hajj over to Mecca, and he stopped in Egypt, and he ended up talking to a scribe about his predecessor. You see what I'm saying? His predecessor being Abu Bukhari. And he said, yeah, man, that dude, man, he took 3,000 ships and went over to what he called the other side of the world. Went to the New World. He said the other bank of the Atlantic Ocean. You know what I'm saying? Imagine that. That's how we know about this thing, man. You know, what do you think about that? What kind of bravery is that, man? Isn't that crazy? You still there, Afro Patriarch?
I'm here.
Go ahead.
Just have some background noise. But yeah, yeah, man. For me, even to hear the story of Abu Bakr, I didn't know who. I've seen his name, but I never didn't know his story. I was mostly intrigued by Mansa Musa. But after that, I just to hear this man's story from you, and now I'm more intrigued because what was his vision? What was his vision to take that such a great trip like that? That's what fascinates me the most.
Because he could, brother. He didn't ask for permission. You see what I'm saying? Now here's what they're saying. His trip was like. This is Mali right here, right? And I don't know why this is popping up. This is Mali, and so basically they're saying this is his trip. Okay, bam. He just came here some kind of way. This Mali, he just zipped on over here. That was his trip, basically. You know, and if you look at the distance, that's not a very long distance right there. Yeah, it's the open ocean, but that's from here to here is a quick one. You see what I'm saying? Bam, and then slide up there. Everybody always ends up in Hispaniola. They always end up in the DR, man. You know what I'm saying? Juan, what do you think about that? Him going from Brazil to the DR. What are your thoughts on that great African emperor, Abu Bukhari II? He was the first one to hit Brazil, man. What are your thoughts? What do you think when he got off the boat? Said, yeah. What did he say, man?
Good evening to everybody. I want to put it to you like this. You point out facts. So facts, Mansa Musa's predecessors already came into the U.S. I've done research myself, and I know about the black tribes that were already here in North America, what we call Hispaniola, down south. This is true.
Let's focus on Abu Bukhari. Let's focus on Abu Bukhari. Because there's so much we can get lost on all of that. So let's go ahead.
Exactly. Since we focusing on Abu Bukhari, that means a brother was here first. And that means when Christopher Columbus came, he already saw black people because their brother was already came, right?
Well, see, here's the thing. We'll acknowledge that the Vikings traveled the North Sea and they got to northern, what they call like basically northern Canada in 900, I believe it was 900 AD. So they were here already. They even are saying the Chinese got there because remember, Alaska and China are like 26 miles away from each other. You see what I'm saying? They're very close. Like that's why they just had that Alaskan seminar, that Alaskan conference up there. So we understand that, but why is it that they don't want to get a black man his credit? They'll give Vikings their credit. They give the Asians their credit with a scintilla of evidence. But they don't want to give this African his credit. Why is that?
Because that means this is our land and we need to fight for it, brothers. All this what Dennis is showing, he's showing us that this is home. All of this over here in Americas is home. So it's time for us to take it back over and white supremacy not be in control of the land. We be in control of the land.
I don't just think that any land is. I think this whole world belongs to black men.
Exactly.
This whole world belongs to any. Let me say it like this, fellas. This is my philosophy, and this is what I teach my sons. The world belongs to whoever's strong enough to take it and hold on to it. That's my philosophy. That's what I'm telling you guys. Well, it sounds bad to me if we come from a group of men, okay? We come from a group of men who traverse the Atlantic, who traverse all around the world, and we're afraid to get a passport and travel overseas because we're afraid of what somebody's going to say. How does that sound? What would Mansa Musa, one of the richest, who had the richest kingdom in the world, what would he say to you, brothers, if you say, yeah, man, I don't want to get the passport. I'm from Alabama. I don't need to go nowhere else, man. Alabama, my hometown. That's one. What would Brother Mansa Musa say about these brothers, Juan?
They will be discarded.
Don't be disrespectful. Don't be disrespectful.
I'm not gonna be disrespectful, but they will be discarded. Like they will be discarded. That's not warrior mindset. A warrior mindset.
It's a ruler's mindset. Like they don't. I mean, a warrior is gonna do what he told, but a ruler, Do you want to see? You see what I'm saying? It's not just the warrior mind. It's a we have been taught to be simps. We've taught to be subservient. We've taught to be, oh, you descended from slaves. If you tell me I'm descended from slaves, and that makes me feel, well, I'm just a slave. I just ain't got nobody enslaving me right now. But if you tell me I'm descended from Mansa Moussa Abubakari II, a man who said, give me 3,000 ships, fill them up with gold, water, warriors, women, and everything else, and food and provisions, and I'm gonna see y'all. I'll see y'all in the next lifetime. Then that's something else. You see what I'm saying? This was a black man that looked just like you.
I agree.
Juan. This was a black man that looked just like you, Afro Patriarch. You understand what I'm saying? These are the black men that we need to talk about. We can't just stop at Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. Peace be unto them. We got to talk about what these. Look at what kind of character did this man have? Now, let me ask you something. Did you think he got his wife's approval before he came over here? One.
Either she was coming or she wasn't gonna be a part of it. Either
let me say it like this. Do you think any of his wives or concubines had anything to say to him about what he determined he was gonna do when he found out what his purpose was? Because see, his job was to be the emperor of the Mali Empire that he inherited from his uncle. But his purpose was what? To get to that other side of the American of the Atlantic, what he considered a big river, the Atlantic Ocean. You see what I'm saying?
I agree.
On that? Mm-hmm. It's a beautiful thing. So we're gonna go ahead, brother, and then we'll go back to Afro Patriarch.
I feel like he felt like he was expanding his territory, and he did make it here, and it is a remnant of that still here in the Americas. It's a remnant of that DNA in us that know we done traveled these continents before, and we're out here doing it, and it's in the form of passports now.
Yeah. So shout out to all the passport bros. You wasn't the first one. Shout out to Abubakari II. He beat y'all here. All right?
Exactly.
So think about that, man. Don't you let these people tell you you shouldn't travel around the world. America's the only place you're supposed to be in. This whole world belongs to you. If you guys want to come in and talk to me about this conversation, come on in. Let's talk about it. We're talking about our brother Abubakari II. The thing here's what we can judge from him. He figured out what his purpose was. Okay, yes, he had a job, but he figured out what his purpose was, and he was willing to risk his life and used all his power to fulfill his purpose on this planet. I have to believe that he was a very spiritual man, and he was in tune with the Most High. He was Muslim. He was a devout Muslim, just like many of these other brothers were, and they were in tune with the Most High. You see what I'm saying? And that this is what he was doing. You know, on top of that, he was a powerful man. And he trusted somebody, and that he trusted Mansa Musa and gave him his power. So that means he was around other black men that he trusted. He didn't ask for anybody's counsel. He didn't ask for permission. He wasn't a slave. He was a ruler. And he treated the world like he owned it. He didn't ask if there was other people over there. He just said, I'm going over there. Give me 3,000. But the cold thing about it, Afro Patriarch, this is the coldest part. He sent 200 boats over there first. And one of them came back and he said, God damn it, I got to do this myself. He said, hook me up 3,000 ships, 2,000 with people and warriors, the other 1,000 with food and provisions, and we gone. He left in 1311, and by 1332, what? He had already apparently landed in Recife, Brazil, and then made his way up to the DR. Sailed along the northern coast, sailed along the coast of Brazil till he got to the Dominican Republic or Hispaniola. What are your thoughts on that, Afro Patriarch? Hit your home turf.
The idea that this man hit these areas it just fascinates me, because it's not something I've learned. It's not something I know about or learned. But outside of Toussaint, King Miguel I of South America, the Colombo village. There's so much information that I'm still learning. So to hear about Abu Bukhari, mind you, I heard the name before, but I didn't know anything about him. I had zero information about him. I just knew that he was the predecessor of Mansa Musa.
They will tell you about Mansa Musa because, oh yeah, he was a rich black guy. They will not tell you about the brave black guy that was his predecessor. You see what I'm saying? Now I promise you, if Abu Bukhari's name was Alan Baker from Ireland, we would know everything about him. He would have a street in every country, in every city in America. But because it was Abu Bukhari II, a black African from the west coast of Africa who was a Muslim, we don't hear nothing about him because that's entirely too much motivation. When you look in the mirror, you see that man. You understand what I'm saying, brothers? When you look in the mirror, you see that black man.
Exactly.
That's you. He was brave. He was courageous. He was not power hungry. You see what I mean? What does it take to give up the most rich? He gave up all the wealth in the world to go fulfill his purpose. What does that tell you? What does that tell you, Afro-Patriarch? Go ahead.
I think it's because again, I'll go back to, when a man has a vision, and
Yes,
he's willing to do whatever he can to make that vision happen. And sometimes to the point of, damn near death. And to me, what that man did was, to me, again, if I was in his company, I would not be able to understand. Like, because if you're living, think about it. If you're living in a village, right? For him, it was an empire. You only know the continent itself. You only know about the continent itself. So outside the continent, you don't know what's going on outside there. And when you do get to the coast of the continent, all you see is water.
Right.
All you see is water stretching. So for this man to just see, or at least have knowledge of other lands, and he probably did tell other people. He probably was like, "Listen, there's another land over here." Da da da.
It's got to be. Basically, it's got to be just like the Niger River has another bank. This is nothing to me but a big river. It has another bank. We just need to get across. That's basically how he saw it. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, and for me, if I was there, and then being a simple member of the court, with my simple job, with my many wives and concubines, and I'm sitting there living a life of comfortable. I'm comfortable. You see how many cows I have? You ever see how many cows I have, Your Majesty? And he's talking about, I'm gonna abdicate and bounce. And you sitting there like, what?
Yeah, I'm out.
Like what?
Like the minister society. Look, man, I'm giving all this up. I'm moving out of Watts. I'm moving back south. He's like, hold on a minute. Oh, you what? You giving up the most powerful kingdom in the world to go hop on a boat and go? Why are you leaving? The small minds can't understand that.
Yeah, so the fact that the griots banned, what you said about the griots no longer want to give praise and everything like that. It's the small-mindedness. Right? It's the small-mindedness of the people, and there are probably people really upset to do that. They must have been upset as hell, like because they couldn't understand. Like, we glorify you. You're the emperor. You're the ruler, and you have so many roles to play here that they could not understand. They could not understand this man. They couldn't understand his vision. They couldn't understand why he was abdicating that golden throne, his many concubines, just for his vision and his knowledge of what's out there. And the fact that they did this to Abu Bukhari, I could just imagine in that royal court, those meetings with the high chiefs, those meetings with my God, they must have lambasted him, guilt-tripped him, tried to offer him things, and he turned them all down just for his vision.
His purpose.
I probably would, and I would have been probably right there like, I don't understand this, man. I don't understand what's going on here.
Yeah. But it's amazing to me what it says about this man. And apparently, here's the book, The Adventures of Abu Bukhari II. So it's not like the history is not there, fellas. They didn't give it to us, and they're not going to give it to us. This is one of those things you got to reach up and take. They call him the Wandering Emperor, okay? So historians know about him. This was printed on January 23rd, 2020. See, brothers, it's on us to reach back, just like I take that Bible and I reach in there and I bring those stories out and make them real to you. This story is now real to you. You know, you'll never forget Abu Bukhari II. He said, I don't want the money. I'm following my goal. I'm following my purpose. Yeah, I like this job. This is a cool job. But you know what? My purpose is more important to me. That's basically what he said. That's something that a lot of you black men out there have to say. You stuck in these little jobs that's paying you 35. You done made it up to 40,000, 45,000, and you're afraid to go start your own business and do your own thing. You're afraid to go fulfill your purpose. Because you want to hold on to this job. Everybody, they're just Afro-patriarch. It's just like Abu Bukhari II's court. Fool, what you doing? You better keep that good government job over there. You're rich. You got all the women you want. Why you want to take and go all the way across to the other side of the riverbank, even if it is there? What you gonna do when you get there? Why are you going over there? It's just like that. A lot of y'all got them same type of haters in your ear, same doubters in your ear. You see what I'm saying? And you allowing them to keep you from your purpose. You got to be like Abu Bukhari II. You got to be strong-willed, dedicated. You have to be hold fast on your beliefs. You have to be courageous. You understand what I'm saying? You have to be confident. You have to know what you know and go with it. He was never seen from or heard from on the continent again. But he popped up in Brazil, though. He popped. Not only did he go to Brazil, here's the crazy thing about the Afro-patriot. He said, yeah, okay. They found evidence of him in Recife, Brazil, but then they also found evidence of him up in the DR. So he said, well, you know what? Yeah, this is cool. We're going to travel up here and see what's up here. You see what I'm saying? So he didn't just stop when he got land. That wasn't the goal. He was going over there to explore and see whatever was there. You understand what I'm saying? This is who we dealing with. So it wasn't by happenstance. He didn't just barely make it like Columbus. They was about to kill Columbus. They said, clown, you got us out here and we about to die. It was about to be a mutiny on Columbus's ship. And I believe the brother name was Pedro. I forget the last name, but it was a black man named Pedro who eventually discovered land. Pedro Alonso discovered land, and that's what saved Cristobal Colon's butt. That's all that happened. Because see what happened when they traveled down the west coast of Africa, they didn't travel far enough so that they can hit that basically that river. That once you get in those trade winds, once you get down there, you just get blown straight across to Brazil. That's why it was so easy to get Africans from Africa to Brazil. It was a quick trip. You was zoop, you there. Now it was hard to get Africans from Africa up to North America. They had to go down to Brazil, go down to South America, then work their way up to the Caribbean. And then by the time you got to America, you was expensive as hell. But the way they did slaves in Brazil, shoot, all they did, because they had so many of them, there was so many ships coming, they'll work you to death for a year. And when you die, they get a new one. They didn't even try to feed you. That's why I'm telling you, the vast majority of the Africans that came to this country were black men, not women. They would work black men to death. About the average life of Brazilian slave in what is now called Brazil was about a year. They worked you to death. You died. They got rid of you. They brought another one up. That was what the slave trade. It was a slave trade in black men's bodies. They didn't want no women. They didn't want kids. They got grown men, worked them to death, and discarded them. They didn't have time to breed women and wait 18, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years for them to get strong enough. The 16 get strong enough to do a man's work. They just captured men, brought them over here, worked them to death, and got some new ones. That's what they did. They didn't have that type of time. But thank you, Afro-patriot. Malika, man, what are your thoughts on Abu Bukhari II? Or what do you gather from this? What lessons can we learn from this brother to apply in our life? He was definitely brave. He knew what his purpose was. Everybody else thought he was crazy, but he followed his purpose. What are your thoughts on this thing? And look, you guys, make sure you contribute to the Super Chat, the Cash App, and the PayPal. I can talk about Quavo. I can talk about, what's that little girl name? God damn it. What's her name? Y'all, what's the other little girl name? I can talk about Sweetie, Quavo. I can talk about all of that. We can keep. Y'all can see me cross-examine porn stars on here. But that's not building you. That is not enticing your imagination. learning about this, one of the richest men in the world being a black man who traveled across the world, right? You know, 100-some years before Columbus, that should open you up. And the first two places he went was Brazil and the Dominican Republic. Got to be more careful. That should inspire you, black men. Okay, that's what that. So make sure you contribute to the Super Chat, the Cash App, and the PayPal, fellas. Make sure you do that. Malika, what are your thoughts on this? The floor is yours.
Brother Abubakari II saw that his purpose was bigger than himself. And he realized it was not just about him, it was about something bigger. You know, when we have a purpose that's bigger than ourselves and we go for it, we're realizing it's not just dealing and settling with what you have. It's something that you have to explore. That's something that's within us that's masculine. We deal with that risk and reward. You know, it says something for him that he's abdicating his throne. He's abdicating his birthright, but he knows it's something bigger out there. He realized that him exploring the unknown was way bigger than his title of being the emperor or king. And you got to think about that. And, you know, people say, well, what could be bigger than being the emperor and title of king? And he says, I don't know. I'm going to go see. Yeah, so, you know,
this is what they say our brother looked like. This is a rendition of him with his ships behind him. That's our
like
brother.
Kanye West.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, look a little bit like Kanye.
That's our brother, right? That's what they saying that black man looked like. But go ahead, brother. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's just when you realize your calling is bigger than just what you have right here. Like how you said, okay, I have something that's comfortable. And he wasn't complacent. You know, he wasn't stuck with complacency where a lot of people would have loved to have what he had, but he was like, okay, I have this, but it's something bigger. When he was probably seeing the world and seeing like how the brother said, the end of our land goes to this water. Where does it stretch to? Where does it go? That meant that the wheels were turning in his head. He was thinking, and he heard and noticed that a lot of other brothers before him had circumnavigated the planet, but he wanted to know how far, what else is there. You know, he was willing to discover the unknown. He was willing to take a chance. And that's how, you know, that's how legacy, that's how pushing on your legacy, that's how creating different things become what they are. And pushing on. And I think just people, when you become comfortable and complacent, they look at you like, you know, this ninja is crazy. He want to go do all this stuff like that. You want to give up your throne. You want to do all this. And it's not just him giving up his throne and giving up his power. Actually, he was gaining more power because he wanted to explore more. And
what do you think about these African griots who said we don't like what he did, so we just gonna write him out of our history? What do you think about them?
Oh, that's the earliest version of African critics and haters, man.
Yeah, it is. They're gonna hate us. Yeah, they were probably his biggest critics.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying?
Because you know why he did not stick to, I guess you would call, policy or tradition.
Yeah.
And he broke that tradition. And they probably saw him as a martyr and a traitor for that. And he didn't care about that. So the best way they want to do that to a person is to, okay, how are we going to get revenge on? We'll just strike him from out of history. You know, kind of like how the way Europeans did for our history throughout the history books throughout the world. You know.
Now, what do you think of now? I want you to. Here's what. Okay, let me run something through. I want you to read this, and then I'm gonna ask you a question. All right. Hold on a minute. Javelin Lightning, what's up? What you want to say?
Yeah, basically.
All right, give me 1 minute. Give me 1 minute. I just want to check, make sure that's a real person right there. All right, so I want you guys to listen to this, Malika, and then we're gonna get to Javelin Lightning next. these Europeans always tell us that we descended from monkeys and all that foolishness, and Africa didn't have nothing going on. You know the stuff they tell us, right? Africa was uncivilized. They knew damn well these Africans had it going on. And over the next couple of nights, you'll see all the different things that I show, because tomorrow we're going to talk about Mansa Musa. And you're going to see at the same time how the Europeans were living while the Africans were living in these beautiful kingdoms. But read this. This is a very important thing. It says, clues from Columbus, perhaps the strongest indications that Abu Bakr II's fleet, or even some of the ships from the earlier expedition he dispatched, in other words, them 200 ships that he sent out, right? Somebody, right? Or even some of the ships from the early expeditions he dispatched had indeed reached the coast of South America, come from the writing of Columbus himself. So this is what Columbus was saying back in 1492. Them goddamn Africans been over here. This is what they now check out how the information came about. In his 1920 book, Africa and the Discovery of America, Professor Leo Weiner, professor of Slavic languages and literatures from Harvard University, highlighted excerpts in the journals of the Italian explorer where Columbus notes that the Native Americans he encountered claimed, in other words, this was known at night when they were giving us the blues, bombing our cities, calling us Negroes, telling us monkeys, telling us we need to go back to Africa, all that foolishness, right? Their scholars already knew that our African ancestors had come from these great empires and had already been to America. This is what their best scholars do. This is a Harvard professor saying that that Columbus in his notes said that the Native Americans encountered the Native Americans he encountered claimed black skin. Really, they told him black skinned people had come from the southeast in boats, trading in gold-tipped spears. On his return route, on his return route to Europe after his first expedition to the New World in March 1493, Columbus was driven off course by a storm and ended up in Portuguese waters, where he eventually had a tense meeting with King John II of Portugal. During a dinner with this monarch, Columbus was apparently told, or perhaps taunted, about West Africans having traveled and traded with the indigenous peoples of the New World. So now the King John II knew that the Africans had been over here. So this was not unknown, okay? Now here's in his third voyage, because remember, Columbus made 4 voyages to the U.S., but not U.S., to the New World. He never actually made it to the United States. I don't know why we even celebrate him as a hero of the United States, and he never even landed. He ended up in Jamaica, Hispaniola, and a couple other islands, turned back and went home. On his third voyage to the Americas, during which he followed the route supposedly used by the aforementioned Africans, in other words, by Abu Bakr II, he went the route they went. He made landfall in Trinidad, and that's right off the coast of South America. And then mainland South America. Columbus acquired some of those spears, tips, made with yellow metal referred to as guanine. In other words, he got some of them African spears that them Africans had brought with him, okay? He seemingly took them back to Spain, where they were tested and found to comprise 6 parts silver, 8 parts copper, 18 parts gold, the same mix as used in West Africa. You hear me? So they got evidence showing that. You understand what I'm saying, Malika?
Yes,
Why
sir.
are we allowing them to lie to us about our history and tell us that Africa was not, or the west coast of Africa, where we were stolen from, was a land where people were living in trees and acting like monkeys and all? Why do we still allow them to tell us that? And why do we allow them to tell us that this is a white man's land when our brothers was over here even before Columbus was? You see what I mean? Why did we still allow them to tell us that? This is my question to you, Malika.
Well, a lot of it because we've been conditioned, and we've been conditioned and complacent. Even if we have evidence and proof, a lot of us, we get to the point that we don't care.
Mm-hmm.
And for a very small fraction of us, when we realize this empowers us. But a lot of people.
How bold do you have to be, though, brother, to send 200 ships, then turn around and send 3,000 ships? What kind of man are you?
Man of God, a man of purpose.
I mean, you got to be a man of immense confidence, to say the least.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? But let's go to Javelin Lightning real quick. My man, let me see. John Gilroy said, people without vision perish. Abubakar II had vision. He did not die. His name lives on, even when people tried to bury it. It sure did. Abubakar with the answers. Javelin Lightning, what are your thoughts on this conversation?
Good evening, everyone. Can everyone hear me?
We can hear you fine. What are your thoughts on this conversation?
This is quite interesting. This is the type of stuff that I discuss with most of my peoples that I'm around, and I know this is part of our history, but I do feel that we as Black men, times change and things evolve.
What about manhood has changed since the time of Mansa Musa and Abubakar II?
Well, the things that's going on right now, like back then, the traveling was at the forefront of.
But what about manhood?
Manhood, like, as of today?
As a man, what kind of man is Abubakar II?
Oh, he's a pioneer at that time. He's a pioneer at that time.
Is he a courageous man?
Absolutely. 100%.
Is he a confident man?
Absolutely, 100%.
Is he a bold man?
Yes, he is. 100%.
Is he a man that takes initiative?
Yes, sir.
Is he the type of man that needs the approval of the crowd?
No.
Is he the type of man that needs the approval of his woman?
No, hell no.
Is he asking his woman for permission?
Hell no.
All right. I think that his manhood transcends time, and I think the brothers can learn a lot from him, because a lot of these brothers, you think Abubakar II cared what his mama said?
Absolutely not.
You think he was worried that his mama said, well, you gonna miss my birthday, you ain't gonna be over here for Christmas and Easter and all that if you go across the ocean like that. That's too far away. I need you to stay here and take care of me, Abubakar II. You know I'm homesick. Your daddy died. You think he cared about that?
Well, he probably had people to come in and help and do that. But
yeah, that's great. But your mama wants your son there. You understand what I'm saying? Anybody can get some in-home care. My whole point is his purpose was more important to him than fulfilling the needs of these people. That's what I'm telling you.
Absolutely.
So the reason that I'm talking about Abubakar II is because we need this example of manhood and masculinity.
Absolutely.
This was clearly a man right here. This was clearly a great ruler. And it's not just enough to learn that he existed. We want to learn as much about his personality, and based on his actions, we know a lot about his personality.
Now I want to jump in real quick.
He wasn't sitting around worried about what the griots in his court had to say when he said, I'm about to travel to Brazil. I'm about to go down here to the DR. You see what I mean? A lot of these brothers won't even get a passport because they're more worried about what somebody on the internet is going to say about them as opposed to going over there and having a good time.
Right. Let me jump in real quick. I was talking to this brother the other day, and I was telling him about the Tariq Nasheed movie, Buck Breaking. He should check it out. And he was telling me that he works with kids in school, and I was talking to him about the male patriotic roles and the female matriarchal roles, and he said that he was a nurturer. And I told him that the best thing to do is you have to be masculine and dominant. Those are your traits to be a leader, a team player. And by me saying that, he kind of looked at me a little funny. And I said, there's nothing wrong with you taking the role of a man being a leader and to dominate and to be a team player. The roles for female is to nurture. And he said, what he does is nurturing. I said, what you're doing is giving instructions to your students. You're the instructor.
Okay, but as far as Abubakar II, brother, what traits do you get from him? Because I want to stay focused. Like a lot of people don't, a lot of people complain. They say I interrupt them. but it's what I want to stay
It's all
focused
good.
on
It's all good.
on
I
the
respect
same.
that.
I want to stay
respect that.
focused on the subject, and the
Yes.
focus of the subject tonight is is Emperor Abu Bukhari II. What can we learn from him? That's
What can
I
we
want
learn from him?
That's what I want to stay focused on.
Okay, what can we learn from him? We can learn him being a go-getter, an innovator. We got to learn these masculine traits, and copy that blueprint to be an innovator, to take lead, take charge, listen to your inner self, listen to the ancestors.
Mm-hmm.
You got to put that one foot in front of the other. We got to, and I think that in today's terms, that's in biology, chemistry,
Okay.
mathematics, science.
All right, I appreciate that. I'm gonna ask you a question, and I'm gonna ask the other guys the same thing. How do you guys like this type of subject matter on the program?
I love it.
Is this something that you can find useful, fellas? Anybody who thinks this is useful, type 1. Anybody who thinks this can help them in their personal life and their personal development as a man, type 1. That's what I want to know. Type 1 if you think this is helpful, fellas. We got type 1. Because see, everybody talks about history, but what does that mean? Everybody talks about the Bible, but how does that help me right now? You see what I mean? How is that? I mean, okay, yeah, Mansa Musa, Shaka Zulu, Abu Bukhari II. Okay, how does that help me? Like, how does that help me in my masculinity? How does that help me develop as a man? Everybody wants to know, man, I grew up, I only had, my mom and my dad left, blah, 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 whatever. How do I learn these masculine traits? This is what I'm saying. You got these great black men that you can learn from. Yeah, it's other men you can learn from, other races. I get that. But look at this great example of manhood and leadership. And look what he did. He was successful. And it didn't matter what history thought. He wasn't looking for kudos and credit. You see what I mean? He stayed over there where he was. He stayed in the New World, left evidence of himself being there. So thank you so much. I appreciate that. Afro Patriarch, how has this helped you? Is this the type of subject matter that do you like this? Because we could talk about Quavo and Speedy. We can talk about that.
No. I'm not into music, today's music space and entertainment. Like, the more I hear about it, the more nauseating I get.
Mm-hmm.
I look to this because this benefits me on a more spiritual level.
Yeah.
And the mental as well. It helps me realize the behavior that I've taken towards certain people who are friends or family is warranted, not to allow myself to lower myself to feelings or to that lower place, and to stay fast and realize my purpose as a man. And that to be my goal. That's what I'm putting on the pedestal.
What characteristics are you going to now begin to take from Abu Bukhari II and incorporate them into your own character and personality? Because see, this is why I say this. We are nothing more than a composite of the people that we encounter. That's all we are as men. We are a composite of the different men or women for some of us who didn't have men characteristics. And that's how we get those female coping skills. What characteristics are you now going to pull from Abu Bukhari II and incorporate them into your life? That's what I want to know. What do you like ideally? If you could just, I want to be this. Go ahead.
I like the way he took his purpose and put it on a pedestal and let it drive him. That drive to just say, F everything else. This is what I'm going to do. And either you're on board or you're not. It's not going to change my decision anyway.
Cool.
It's not going to change it's not going to push me off my path anyway. And that to me is that what I find so fulfilling in a way, mentally so fulfilling, was because this is what I want to be like. I want to have that. Listen, you can disagree or agree. Either way, I'm still doing this.
I'm still gone.
I'm still gone. I'm still out of here. And that to me is something I wish I had 20 years ago. That mentality. It had to be cultivated. I wish I had that 20 years ago. that either way you like it, or don't, I'm still going to be moving this direction. And that to me fascinates me. I wish he was alive today so I could ask him 101 questions. Probably annoy the hell out of him, just to hear his philosophy, just to gain that energy that he had. You know what I mean? I mean, if the man did a seminar, I would be there. I would sell what I can and be right there, front row, listen to every word. Because to do what he did, to just say, I'm abdicating, to put the throne on the seat. I can just imagine he takes his hat off, the crown, puts on his seat, and says, I'm abdicating the throne. I'm out.
He said he didn't even sound advocate the throne. Basically, what happened is, I'll be back, and he ain't come back. So they like, well, he left. Like, what we supposed to do? We just like not gonna have a king because he gone, bro. I'm the regent. Yeah, I get it, but damn, he been gone. And look, it was 20 years later that Mansa Musa began to tell people how he came about having the throne. That's the crazy part. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, damn, like really? This is what we doing out here. You just gonna bounce like that?
And it couldn't be easy for Mansa Musa to this man just up and left, and then now the people now that probably was. Can you imagine that court after he left? How people were trying to probably backstab each other for the seat, do all types of political wrangling and dangling and the offering and things like that. That would be too stressful for me.
Yeah, but see, the thing is, and the thing is, and then we're gonna go to Malika next because I want to see what his thoughts, his closing thoughts on this. We say, I wish I could be there with him. Your ancestors are with you, brother. That's your brother. He is with you in your DNA. He's already there with you. You see what I mean? The Africans, they got spirituality. They say when you start speaking about your ancestors and asking your ancestors for knowledge, they come back to you. I believe a little bit of that, a little bit. You know what I mean? I know when you speak of stuff, it comes to you. The universe, even now in quantum physics, they're starting to say, well, the past and the past and the present and the future all intersect. Isn't that something? They say this all one. So your ancestors are right here with you. All you got to do is speak to them. You want to know what Mansa Musa, Abu Bukhari II, or Shaka Zulu, all these Africans, these great men think about look into yourself. Become the best you can be. What you need to start doing, man, is pushing yourself. Everybody, all you black men, listen to me. You push yourself, push yourself, push yourself. Keep pushing yourself, being the best. If you decide you're going to run 4 miles today, run 5. If you're going to decide you're going to run 5 miles today, run 7. If you decide you're going to get a 100% on your next math test, get 120%. This is what I'm trying to tell you guys to do. Begin to excel. Begin to look for greatness in everything you do, and your ancestors who were great will come up out of you. That's how that works. Your ancestors will then come out of you because it's in you already. Everything you need is locked away in you. All you got to do is push for greatness, and they'll come to you. It's in your DNA already. That's the secret. That's the secret. Push for excellence, and all the excellent ancestors will come. But as long as they keep you thinking you're descendant of slaves and you're mediocre and you lucky to be getting these welfare checks and this little funky ass signing bonus that we get for you to play in the NFL. As long as you keep thinking that, you'll continue to be average. You'll continue to be regular. You will not be the mathematicians and the scholars and the navigators and the sailors and the adventurers that you were for the 80,000 years before the first European landed on this. First European emerged in the northern parts of this earth, up in Scandinavia somewhere 8,000 years ago. As long as you shoot for mediocre, you'll be mediocre. That's what I'm telling you. But when you begin to push for greatness, Abu Bukhari II will talk to you. He'll pop up through your genes and say, well, this is what we're going to do next. And you be like, where did that little voice come from? I'm telling you, I know, because when I begin to push for excellence, the answers come to me. The universe, how did Dennis get this TV show on TV? How did he even do that? I pushed for it. I pushed for excellence. I pushed. And it came to me. My ancestors cleared the way for me. Some say God, some say I don't know, whatever it is. I know when I push for excellence and I push for greatness, doors start opening for me. That's what I'm trying to tell you. But anyway, thank you, Afro Patriarch. But our brothers are with us, man. My life, bro. Hey, you running anchor on this thing, man. What are your thoughts, man?
The 3 characteristics I got from Brother Abubakari II: positively stubborn. That man didn't.
Oh, good.
No matter whatever it was, he stuck to his guns.
Mm-hmm.
Risk taker. That's one thing I'm learning more. Be a risk taker and just do it. Visionary. He knew something was out there that was bigger than himself.
Mm-hmm.
He knew that there was, it's like that situation we have where we have these epiphany moments. I know what it is. I don't know. I can't exactly put my finger on it or say what it is, but I know it's out there. That's that intuition, that vision that he saw. Just like how you said, I want to go make a TV show.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is yet, but when I start putting the ball rolling, I'm gonna do it.
And I didn't ask for permission either.
Yeah.
I said I'm gonna be one of the ones that change the image of Black folks in this country, and that's what I did. You see what I mean? And that's what I did. I'm gonna change the image of Black Americans in this country, and specifically Black men. I'm referring to my television show, Co-Parenting with the Sperlings. You guys can check it out on Tubi. Just type in Co-Parenting with the Sperlings. It'll pop up. Apparently, it's doing very well. I've got 100,000 or so views in the past 2 weeks, which is pretty damn breathtaking for us. So, all you guys need to do is just keep on pushing. We can do this. All right. But anyway, go ahead, Malika. I didn't mean to cut you off.
He did what he wanted to do when he wanted to do it.
Some people call that hard-headed, Malika. They'll say you hard-headed. Go ahead. But crazy.
Like when you're saying being hard-headed,
mm-hmm.
Black men, ever since we was kids, man, we was punished for being hard-headed.
Yeah.
Even if it was wanting to do something that's different.
Yeah.
And he did what he wanted to do when he wanted to do it. Like you said, all right, these sold 100 boats from the first one. All right, forget it. Let's go get some more. Let's get 3,000. Let's go out there and do this. And let's make sure we hit it. It's like, we got the money, we got the provisions. I don't care. This is what I'm going to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know what it was, man? You know how 50 has the title Get Rich or Die Trying?
Bro.
He was going to explore or die trying.
And the crazy thing is he already had all the money in the world. Because think about it. If Mansa Musa was the richest man in the world and he inherited it from Abu Bukhari, that means Abu Bukhari was actually the richest man.
Yeah, I mean, if you would do this,
he was the rightful heir of the Malian Empire. He inherited from his uncle.
Mm-hmm.
Mansa Musa was merely the regent that he put in charge while he was gone. And Mansa said, "Well, he gone now. I mean, I'm the king now. Call me the Lord of Mines." He basically left him there to maintain it. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like really the first richest man in the world was Abu Bukhari II, our brother, who said, "I don't want the money. I'm more forget my job. I'm gonna focus on my purpose." Which is something that a lot of you brothers should do, man. Not that, I mean, he took the money with him, so he took the spoils from his job, right? He took money, he took not all of it, he took gold, took the women, took thousands of people with him, whatever. But my bottom line is what I'm saying is he went off and fulfilled his purpose, Malika. You see what I'm saying? So I'm gonna ask you guys again, this is a rhetorical question, Afro Patriarch, what is your purpose? Malika, what is your purpose? Javelin Lightning, what is your purpose? Think about that. But, and also think about what else can you learn from our brother Abu Bukhari II. And I bet you ain't had a group of Black men. We got 77 Black men in here. You haven't had a group of Black men focus on Abu Bukhari II probably in 700 years. You see what I'm saying? A group of his ancestors Many of us may be even related to him through blood, right? A group of his ancestors now talking about him. He's with us, and you have to believe that. But anyway, thank you guys. Tyree, you got 2 minutes, man. You came in late, but I try to get all my brothers' voices in, man. What's up, man? You're on the road, I see. What are your thoughts on Abu Bukhari II?
Man, so I think it's a powerful mess, man. You got I actually went back and watched a little bit of the earlier show so I could be a little more in tune once I actually got into the show. So the thing is, man, he took his kingdom, his uncle that has conquered the section of the world, and he said, I'm gonna go conquer my own section. Like, it's like people who work for the dad right now, like go out and start your business with the information he's giving you. He's giving you the game of how to run a business. Go out and start your own business. Go out. Like, so the thing is, man, like, it's a great message of stand on your square. Like, people gonna push you, people gonna pull you, people gonna try to guide you where they want you, but you're not gonna be happy. You're not gonna be happy. You're gonna be looking at the other side of the river. Like, I know there's a edge over there. Like, and you're just gonna be sitting there looking at it. Like, you gotta go for it. Like, I mean, that's what it really boils down to.
You hit on a great point. He wasn't settling on living off what his uncle did. He wanted to do his own thing. In other words, think about it. You got a lot of ball players and their children. They happy because their daddy was great. No, I'm gonna go make a name for myself. You see what I mean? Think about that. What kind of man is that? Look at the integrity of them. No, I'm not cool with resting on his laurels. I'm not cool. Matter of fact, he shouldn't even rest on his own laurels. That's my uncle. I want to do my own thing. I want to make my own name in this world. You see what I'm saying? And he didn't care what anybody thought. Beautiful thing, beautiful story. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. Look, check out Abu Bukhari II. It's easy to find his name. I've typed it up. It's in the beginning of the story. This is our brother. This is someone that you can learn from. This man decided what? I sent some guys over there. I sent 200 ships, which is a phenomenon in itself. Sent 200 ships overseas. They didn't come back. Okay, all except one came back. So you know what he did? He said, hook me up 3,000 ships. And then he took those ships and went overseas and never was seen on the continent. But they saw him where? They saw him in Brazil. They saw him in Hispaniola. So in other words, so he went to Brazil, and his first stop was Brazil. His second stop was the DR. Okay? The same place that many of you brothers are getting the blues for going to right now. This is where your ancestors went to. You see what I mean? Your ancestors explored the whole world. He probably didn't even stop there. This is what I'm trying to tell you, brothers. When I tell you that this whole world belongs to you, that don't mean go knock somebody out and break in their house. That means explore this whole world. See what this whole world has to offer you. You know, don't be held up by what your family says or the people around you say, or your co-workers say, or your mama, your daddy, all that. You go do what you do. That's what I'm asking you guys to do. I'm asking you guys to go see what this world has to offer, like Abu Bukhari II. Go make a name for yourself. Go see out. I want to hear about you in 20 years, man. Yeah, man, you know what? About a year after I heard that broadcast, man, I just packed up all my stuff and moved to Southeast Asia. And I've been here ever since, Uncle D. I've been chilling, man. Life is good. I did this. I built this business. You know, I got this many children. I got this going on. And then from there, I went down to Australia and hung out with them, man. I lived there for like 5 years. This is what I want to hear you, brother. This whole world belongs to you. Yeah, you know, my people from Mississippi, Alabama. But, man, you know what? I live in London now, man, and I really love it. I really like London. Oh, yeah, you know what, man? My people are from Chicago, man, but I live down here in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, man. I'm chilling. I got beautiful children. My life is good, whatever. The whole world belongs to you, brother. These are the people you do. Abu Bukhari II could have been from anywhere else in Africa, all these different places, but he was from the Gambia. He was from the west coast of Africa, where the vast majority of our ancestors were stolen from and brought over here to the United States. Isn't that ironic? Isn't that he willingly sells somewhere, and then they drag the rest of us over here. That's our people. That's where we from. We've been traveling back and forth across that Atlantic, apparently. We've been traversing the world, apparently. We scattered about the whole world. Why are you now afraid to begin to travel? You worried about what the lovely ladies are gonna say here? I'm sure it was some lovely ladies in the Gambia and Mali said, "You fool, why you traveling over there to God? You don't even know what's over there. Abu Bukhari II, you crazy. What's wrong with you? You need to stay here. What you over there trying to do? You a fool." The same stuff that they tell you. But did he care? No, because he didn't let women drive him. He didn't let women dictate to him how he should live or what he should do. He was not a simp. That's one thing that we can learn. He was a man on his purpose, so he didn't care what the women had to say. He didn't care what the people at his job had to say. What was his job? Being the ruler of the richest empire in the world, Mali at the time, worth $400 million, billion dollars by himself, which he then abdicated the throne and Mansa Moussa took over, who they then referred to as the Lord of Mines. The mines were still there. That's what I'm trying to tell y'all. They just need to dig it up. So he still owned all that. That was still his kingdom. But he said, no, forget this job. I got to get on my purpose. That's basically what he did. Yeah, he took some gold and people. Yeah, the job helped him fulfill his purpose, but he knew what his purpose was. So once he got what he needed from that job, he went off and went on his purpose. It was the best job in the world. Who wouldn't want to be the richest man in the world? That is the best job in the world, period. Right? That's what he did. He gave that job up and went and fulfilled his purpose. This is what I want you brothers to think about. What can you learn from Abu Bukhari II? It's not enough just to talk about our ancient emperors, ancient kings, ancient warriors. We need to know what we can learn from them that we can incorporate in us. Because they're trying to strip us of our masculinity every day. So we need to reach back and get some of that pure African, that black oil, that black coal, that straight black into the universe masculinity and insert that into us. Just to combat this foolishness that we have to see on TV. And you got dudes worshiping Satan and playing footsie with the devil on TV. You need some of that masculinity to from the ancestors to combat this foolishness. You need to reach back and pull some of that up out of history and incorporate that into yourself. We are not just going to settle for a Martin Luther King or a Malcolm X. That's the baby food that they feed us in the refrigerator. They want our ancestry and our history to stop at slavery. They wanted to stop it at 1619. Or 1492 at best. They don't want us to go back to 1311 and 1312 and talk about the Malian Empire. They want us to think Nigeria is just full of scammers and somebody gonna send you an email saying they got an uncle in Scotland that left them 100 million pounds. All you gotta do is send them $5,000. That's what they want you to think Nigeria is. That's what they want you to think the Gambia is, as they call it. Now that's what they want, but that's not it. That is the former empire of Mali, where many of our ancestors were stolen from. That's who we are. Where this great king, this great emperor decided to hook up 3,000 ships and sail to the New World while the Europeans were still living in squalor, couldn't even come together and organize a damn foosball game, much less to sail across the seas. They were still in the dark ages. The Moors were still whooping their butts. You see what I mean? This is who I need you to dig up. So you guys, I'm gonna leave you guys a link to the Wikipedia page for Emperor Abu Bukhari II. And if you look at the bottom, Wikipedia is always a good place to start. But if you look at the bottom, there's a lot of references that you can pull right down there at the bottom. Just click on them. Look at all these references here at the bottom. History is not something that's that complicated. It's all documented, and from, it's all there. These are all the references you can pull up to learn everything you want to know about this man. All these references. This is a good stuff. People want to know, how do I learn about this man? Look at all this. You got at least 12 references numbered, and there's some more references right here. Click on those buttons. It'll take you everywhere you want. The legend of how Mansa Bukhari of Mali gave the throne and explored the Atlantic Ocean. They got it. It's all in the history books. They just don't tell you about it. Why would they? But either way, God bless you guys. This is Uncle D. Love you guys. I appreciate that. I hope this is meaningful to you. I hope you learned something. If you appreciate what I'm doing, make sure you contribute to the Super Chat, the Cash App, and the PayPal. And I hope you all also enjoyed the videos. I'm going to actually, I'm going to let you guys see a video that was recently prepared as we leave out. This is the first time I'll be doing this, but I really like this video, man. So y'all check this out. It's called Moving On. I think it's inspirational, man. All right. Y'all check that out. I'm out.